Hello and welcome to the second ever episode of the BusinessGems podcast. Now today we're joined by a very special guest, Chris Branch from Artificial Inspiration. Now Chris is here to talk to us today about all things AI. Chris, hello.
Meet you. I know you've known Jem for years, but thank you so much for coming on our podcast. And the reason why you're here actually is last year I went to the London Business Show, and out of all the seminars, the theatres, great show, but the busiest ones were the AI. You couldn't, there was no seats. People were standing. It was, kids from school all the way up in age groups, and people wanted to know about AI. So I'm at London Business School. I give Jem a call and said, Jem, for our podcast, we need an AI expert. We need someone brilliant. And do you know what she said? We need you, Chris. So welcome.
Thank you so much. That's very kind. Very kind. And yeah, AI is the hot topic at the moment, not just in like marketing, which is my background, but in business as a whole. And like, as you said, kids, everyone's using it to some degree. It's quite wild, honestly.
I agree. And to be fair, it is affecting every different element of business at the moment. So it's massively hot topic in terms of marketing where me and you are, but in things like HR, recruitment, it's all being utilized and implemented in places like that as well. So everyone really wants to know how it's going to help with their businesses.
Yeah.
So that leads me on to a question, actually, Chris. So how did you end up being where you are? So you've got Seedly, you've got Artificial Inspiration. How did you end up with being founder of both those companies?
So Seedly is a creative agency that outdates everything else that I've done. And originally I called it Seed to Branch, which was just me. It was a limited company set up with me as the only person there. And it was essentially to make other businesses take me more seriously than just a freelancer. And it worked like a charm, and got a load more business in the first couple of months than what I'd been seeing in freelance world. And so I just set up the business with that in mind, you know, for people to take me more seriously, limited trade company, everything else like that, all that jazz. And 18 months into doing this, I was finding a lot of good organic success on LinkedIn via company page strategies. And I was working with one freelancer who was a graphic designer, and he was so good and doing such good client work for me. I ended up offering him half of the agency in order to join with me. And that's when I changed it from Seed to Branch into Seedly, because then it graduated from just being my surname to actually being a business partnership. And we had a new rebranding because he's a graphic designer. So that was really nice. And since then we ended up like working in AI 18 months ago, approximately. And it was happenstance as to how we got into the industry, honestly, completely random luck. Because I received an email one day just saying, we love your portfolio of art direction work. Would you like to try this new AI tool for free? We're only offering it to people like yourself who are art directors, because we want good feedback from, people we respect the creative of. And then we got access to a tool called Midjourney. And this is the very first AI art tool that we tried 18 months ago. And it's been a whirlwind since then.
Wow. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. So tell us more about this tool then. How does this tool work?
It's just remarkable. It's like Star Trek technology. You type a few words into it, and then within a few seconds, it gives you an exact image of the things that you type to it, as though you'd had a graphic designer sit there for 50 hours and sketch it out perfectly. It's really like magic. And it was so exciting to me when I first got it. I joked with Paul that I'm just going to sell my PS5 at this point because it's pointless me having it. It's like I can make money through this tool. It's as fun. It's as creative. It's everything I've always wanted in a marketing tool, honestly. It's like Star Trek level of like ridiculousness. And since version 1, it wasn't very good, honestly. Like, you know, you could see it had potential, but it was doing just like, imagine it being like a child, and it was doing the sort of like scribbles that you wouldn't hang up on the back of your fridge because you'd be embarrassed until they got to primary school level. It was like that in version 1. But even then, I saw the potential. I was like, if this keeps going, in 2 years, I predicted it will be at photorealism levels. Wow. We got there within 12 months. So I was actually a year short of where it actually, how fast it got to, like, I'd say level 4, level 5 Midjourney, which came out about 6 months ago, cracked the level of photorealism to the point where journalists believe these are real photos.
Wow. And I think, Chris, it's important as well, isn't it, that, you know, all your work is actually not, you know, on LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. So if people, audience, if you've not seen it, absolutely go and check out Chris on LinkedIn. Absolutely phenomenal.
So I got a great story about how we like ended up working with Midjourney and how we got the attention of our ideal clients through LinkedIn and using Midjourney. And we had a spreadsheet of our ideal wish list of brands we want to work with, me and my co-founder, Paul. And every day we just thought of a different prompt for each one of these brands and then put this out as a social post. And one day we decided about 19 months ago to make a luxury Coca Cola range, because Coca Cola was the brand we wanted to work with. And we made them out of like diamond and crystal and did all the glasses like super fancy in the prompts. And lo and behold, a month later, I get a direct message from the marketing director at Coca Cola saying, do you want to be part of this secret AI incubator and fly us out to Atlanta and Times Square, and the literal Disney dream of like the whole reason you'd want to do this type of mock-up creativity. The #1 brand in the world, Coca-Cola, actually is inviting me to a private thing in Atlanta.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
remember that campaign as well. It was really, really good.
Oh,
I love all your images.
It was so fun and so exciting at the time that we'd done a second one. So we've done 2 Christmases in a row now, and we just finished the most recent one. And in this case, we made an entire AI app whereby any fans of Coca-Cola could send their loved ones a free Christmas card, and you could generate anything, and it had Coca-Cola inside of it, and it was all Coca-Cola assets. And they did one for Diwali too, for Diwali cards, and sending it to loved ones for free. It's a game changer.
That's really clever.
So I'm really interested with the fact that you've been in this 18 months, but what is your actual background, Chris? You've come amazing in 18 months with the AI piece, but what is your background?
So I come from a creative background in general. I've worked in most major agencies in the UK. Outside of London, I'd say I've worked for 3 of the biggest ones in Leeds. One's called Sticky Eyes, and it's part of the IPG Media brands, and they were about 10,000 people worldwide. It's a seriously big creative agency. And so I learned the craft doing, you know, really good work with really big clients, but at a massive brand where they account manage it, they control it, they do everything. So I never really learned all of the parts of the wheel. I just learned on how to pitch ideas and be creative with big brands on campaigns. And then I wanted to start my own agency, but I still didn't think that I was really ready to. So I started to join much smaller agencies where I was a much bigger part of the wheel and having a lot more responsibility and taking a loss on my salary. Honestly, I took like a 30,000 cut on my salary in order to basically upskill myself in all of the things I thought I needed in order to launch my own thing, in order to make it 100% foolproof that it would be successful. And so I wouldn't ever have to work for anyone ever again. That was always my game plan from about, you know, year 2 of my creative career, I'd say. And I'm about 16 years in now.
Oh, that's brilliant.
See, the thing is, and I think that's what a lot of people miss as well when they're actually setting up on their own, is they've got that experience with the large brands, but in reality, for me, I think you've done the right thing. So I always worked for quite small companies,
right?
Purely because I'm nosy. I worked in the sales team, and from my point of view, I felt like I needed to understand every single element of that business in order to be able to sell it effectively.
So it's a sad thing, isn't it? But at a big company, you are just a small cog in a big wheel. No matter what you want to do, you know, you can't have that experience. So I totally agree. Like, you need to do that small. I'd say an SME under 50 is ideal, you know, and then you're ready to launch something after that. But if you've just been working enterprise your whole career, you're going to find it very difficult opening up an SME. If you've got no experience, it's going to be really tough.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I think it's really important, especially for new businesses, startups, that they've also got, they reach out with the right experts and support around them as well. Your network is so vital, so vital. Taking advice, asking questions, and learning as you go is so important when you're doing that.
And that's why LinkedIn is a goldmine, because it's free and it's every day and it's got massive reach. There's, you know, no website or blogs do that really, especially not in the age of AI. I haven't used Google in 6 months. I just talk to ChatGPT and then ChatGPT talks to Google for me. Like, I don't need to do this stuff anymore. So people underestimate what their website's, you know, good for. And I don't think it's going to be very long that websites exist in the way that they do.
I feel like you know this. So Sarah completely refuses to call chat. She calls him Colin.
I like that. Give it a good name that you're familiar with. My mum, I bought her a robot vacuum for Christmas, and she calls it Jerry after our late granddad. And you know, just giving it a personality automatically makes you more endearing to it. But that's a funny thing, actually, that hopefully we'll talk about later, is the anthropomorphizing of AI technology, people giving it human attributes when clearly it doesn't have them. That's a real issue right now, you know, where people assign emotions and, like, you know.
Well, let's talk about it now, Chris. This is really interesting.
Yeah, effectively, that is the thing that I think that people realize when they go marketing, or it's just going to replace you. But it's not, because it's never going to be able to have that human element, and there's always going to be the need for someone like me or you to go through what it's spat out and make it sound like a person and add that emotion and personality into it.
Definitely. And empathy. It's the empathy.
Yes, exactly. I think we're in the age of the golden age of AI right now, actually. I would say all of the AI is made for us humans and is not autonomous on its own. It's not capable of being autonomous right now. Like, eventually we will get these scary things that are going to be called AI agents, sadly. And they will be just autonomous AI agents out there acting on the internet for months and months without any supervision, doing big tasks. And they will be a lot scarier than all of the current technology, which is right now made just like Photoshop to be a tool for humans to interact with and therefore make their jobs more efficient, more enjoyable. In the creative process, it's hella more enjoyable, honestly. Like, I could give you a typical before and after story if you want. Like, when I was a creative working 3-4 years ago, I'd be working in, say, Canva or Photoshop or one of these normal tools, and I'd have, like, you know, a brief come in from a client, and I'd make maybe 1 or 2 images over the course of a week, and the software would constantly crash on me and I'd lose where I was, and it was a nightmare. And I spent 99% of my time doing execution and 1% of my time doing the idea. Nowadays, it couldn't be more opposite. I spend 99% of my time doing ideas, and the AI does all of the execution without any of the crashing of Photoshop or the manipulation of images. It's quite literally just idea after idea after idea, and seconds later, it's instantly there and ready to send to a client. It's really incredible how that's changed.
Yeah, well, so we create our images, so I can categorically guarantee, like, Sarah was absolutely losing her crap last week because Canva just wouldn't let her download, no matter what she did.
Honestly, stuff like that, I just don't miss it. Like, you know, it's one of the most tedious things. And, like, I constantly am telling people, if you're doing a job that has a lot of tedious things, tasks like that are repetitive and very, you know, formulaic, AI is perfect for you. You know, that's made for doing that type of, you know, continuous boring task over and over again, like scanning emails. And you mentioned HR earlier. I actually think it's just as interesting in business development as well. You know, like every element of a role is going to have AI to personalize the emails better, do the research for you, be your assistant, you know, suggest personalization and suggest ways of introducing yourself. And it's going to be everywhere. Like, I'm imagining 2 years from now, every computer you buy will have AI built into it. And so it'll just be a software-based thing, and it interacts with all of your tools on your behalf. Kind of like Clippy on WordArt, if you remember that.
Yeah,
I like changing to a cat.
It's going to be the Clippy 2.0, but less annoying, hopefully. Yeah.
So, can you change him from a clip to a cat? Because that's what's really
I think they all need their names, right? Like I've got an Alexa behind me, I've got a Siri on my phone, and then there's this thing called Copilot, which is what Microsoft's version is, and they've all got different names, and I don't think any of them are particularly good or catchy, or Siri.
I get it sounds like you've got. It sounds like you've got an AI family around you.
Yeah, well, we've all been surrounded by AI for the last 10 years and no one's been aware of it. Everything that you Google has got AI built into it. Every, algorithm you've ever encountered in social media has always had AI built into it to some degree. It's just not being able to take a few words and then generate perfect picture images. That's not the type of AI we've had before. We've had AI that's able to crunch huge amounts of data and make much more calculated decisions than humans, and therefore suggest like algorithmically content that's based on your preferences and stuff like that.
So from your expertise, what apps would you say absolutely, you would personally say brilliant, absolutely go for it?
Right now, and it's constantly changing in AI. I'm gonna sound really
I'm
outdated.
writing these down now, actually.
Yeah, I've got like 15 I could suggest in the workflow. So if you're doing ideation or copywriting, I would suggest something called Claude, spelled Claude, and it's from a company called Anthropic. Actually, most people would use ChatGPT, which is the most commonly known for this one, but I find that's better for just ideation and research. But I find Claude is much better at human-like copywriting. So that's my go-to large language model suggestions. And then if you're going to go into the images, I'd say DALL-E 3 is a really nice program, also by OpenAI and inside of ChatGPT. So if you pay ChatGPT Premium, you get access to both GPT-4, the large language model, and DALL-E 3, the image generator. So that's a bargain in terms of like $20 a month subscription for 2 tools.
I paid for that. I didn't even know I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So now inside ChatGPT, you can just ask it to create an image and it will create one for you. It's really...
We both know it doesn't work with my face.
That's one issue, is there are tools that do that too. They're character building tools. One's called artflow.ai, where you can train a model of your own face, give it 100 selfies, and then make yourself into Doctor Strange or Catwoman or Hulk or whoever you want. That's really fun. Midjourney is obviously my favorite image generator. Yeah.
Sorry, with the one, do you know the Artflow one?
Yeah.
I just wanted to just have a slight spin-off question on that, because we're seeing quite a lot of it being utilized in terms of the graphic design-led images of individuals on social media platforms now. Would you say that that's the way to go, or should we be sticking to actual pictures of ourselves that are a little bit more raw, realistic?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think what we're going to see over time is a balance between the two. You need a level of authenticity, but also you want to be in fun and exciting situations and not have to do that photo shoot, like, so you could at any day just have nothing to post and think, oh, you know what? News today was that Spider-Man movie's just come out. Why don't I try myself as Batman or Spider-Man or something just quickly for a post? And then bingo, AI is there to solve the problem. But Artflow is solving a very new problem. Actually, it's the first tool that's ever come out where you can train for free your own model, which is something that's been requested by everyone I've ever trained in AI, is when can I inject my own images and selfies and stuff into this thing versus it's 10 billion images that it's trained on in most cases.
I didn't know that.
So up to this point, you've never been able to add your own imagery and it actually do something that looks like you.
That's really clever. So we're going through your top list of AI until I cut you off because I'm rude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Carry on. I'm still writing here, Chris. I'm learning so much today.
So this year is going to be the year of AI video, and we cracked images last year. I'd say last year was the AI image year, and we're never going to have a better one. It cracked photorealism. The uncanny valley is permanently gone. Literally, it fools even me. I've looked at tens of thousands of these images, and I still can't tell which ones are real in a Midjourney image sometimes. And I've looked at so many of these. So really the public's got no chance. But I'd say AI video is going to get that realistic this year. By the end of this year, we'll have videos that you can literally watch as deep fakes that you'd have no idea that that's not actually the real person saying, doing, and everything. And this will come to music festivals, and we'll have all sorts of dead people coming back to life, like Tupac and Biggie and Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles reunite. You know, they've just made a new song with AI, the Beatles. Did you see that?
I haven't seen that, no.
I've seen some of it, but I didn't realize that that's what it was. So I've heard the
Yeah.
song.
So
yeah,
I looked into a little bit of it. I don't exactly know what they did, but essentially John Lennon's had some private recordings where he had done some stuff over a piano. And what they did is they used AI to separate the piano from his vocals in order to be able to take those vocals into a new track. So that's another thing that AI is very good at, is like separating out frequencies of like music so that you can essentially remix things ultimately in the future forever. Like I've already heard songs which are called Fake Drake and stuff like this. And essentially Drake's never been involved in this, except someone's used his voice and made a totally new song without his permission. And it's gone viral. It's really bizarre.
Isn't there, Chris? Sorry, isn't there AI apps as well for the songs and making your own music as well? Isn't
Yes,
there?
there's a few of them. One of them is called 11 Labs, and it does like voice clones, so you can train a model of like your own voice. It only needs about 20 minutes worth of recording, and it can basically be you, and you can just prompt it.
Sing. So the fact I can't sing now, but this can help me look like I can sing.
You can sing any lyrics you want, and you get ChatGPT to write some Eminem if you like, and then get it to rap like Eminem as you.
Talent.
Yes.
All I'm hearing is my lip syncing days are over.
Well, it's funny you mentioned lip syncing, right? Because I read yesterday that Spotify is going to be doing live translation of podcasts in any language around the world using AI. So you can tune in to you can tune into the Joe Rogan Experience and see not only in French, but his entire mouth moving as though he's speaking French, even though he's speaking English live. And that's another major AI benefit.
Oh, they need to put that to, what were it called? That program that everybody were watching, and you were in that. It's driving me.
I'm trying to get ahead now, but I'm struggling.
We're Chinese or something, and everybody was all over it last year, and they had no money, so they went into this game thing, and everyone like died. And at the end,
oh yeah, I know what you mean. Jeez, what's it called?
It were a really good program.
It was on Netflix.
It was on Netflix, and everybody was watching it. Squid Games.
Yeah.
Squid Games, yeah, Squid Games.
Well, that was a cracking program, but the dubbing in it was so bad. It made
and
it
that's
painful.
the thing is like we all lose like this sense of the content when there's dubbing involved, right? Or it doesn't look like, you know, when I used to live abroad, when they showed English movies and it was like in a Spanish region or something like this, you'd always have a local Spanish person talking, and it, you know, they might have a really deep voice for a character that's quite effeminate or something, and it just totally doesn't match, and you're like totally lost the immersion of every piece of the content. You're just gone at that point. You're like, yeah,
I just watch it for the humorous value. To be fair,
it's sometimes funny. It's sometimes funny, and then you can stand it. But like for the comic value versus the actual content.
But it is one of those like good Squid Games. I can understand that a lot of people would have just turned off because it were like, do you know what? It's that painful. I can't actually watch it. Whereas if we had something like that when it was released. I mean, it was already popular. It'd have been even more popular because we wouldn't have lost those individuals. There's also another thing that I wanted to mention, actually, because when we're actually talking about AI and being able to clone people's voices and now start creating these videos, my head goes totally into Black Mirror.
Scary. Oh yeah. And this year is the year of the two big elections. Remember? So the UK and USA are going to see propaganda like never before with AI deepfakes of Trump and everybody, you know, like Keir Starmer. Everyone's going to be like not understanding that what's in their Facebook group is a completely fake version of these people that saying whatever, you know, the narrative of the people that funded that video want them to say, essentially. So that's really, really troublesome. I've been telling all of my like friends and family that are completely unaware of AI that like I send them a video of me as an AI clone, and then they watch it, don't realize it's not an AI video, and at the end I just have like a mask where my face goes into the like a robot, and they are shit scared because
So
they think it's
monitoring then, Chris. How's this going to be monitored to stop this?
This is the one thing that everyone's worried about is there's no current regulation for AI whatsoever. And post-Brexit, UK is going to have completely different regulation to the rest of Europe. And Europe is trying to front load this regulation, but doing it wrong. So they want to force this through really quickly by the end of this year, regulation on AI, which is going to make all of Europe drag behind America, where they're going to be, you know, taking a lot longer because so much of the tech's already come from Silicon Valley, etc., and they want to, you know, protect it. Whereas EU's just straight up like, we don't want you stealing our data. You know, we're going to halt all progress and innovation in order to stop, you know, the potential damage of this. Not realizing that they're going to fall way behind the Americans and lose billions, if not trillions, of dollars.
That's
so
the
it's
thing,
troubling times.
Lack of understanding. Like even if we look at Mark Zuckerberg, and when he was on, I think he was on trial. I'm not entirely sure how it completely works, but I watched the documentary on him, and he's in this room with all these people, and they're all asking him questions about how he needs to regulate his own platforms, and they haven't got a frigging clue what they're asking him. It's like,
do you want to know the best one ever? The guy, whoever they put up as being the owner of TikTok, because it wasn't, it was clearly just a ByteDance employee that was posing in order to, you know, be in the Senate. One of the senators quite literally asks this guy, does TikTok access your home Wi-Fi network? And it's like, well, duh, how do you think they connect to it? And he's like, sorry, that's a major security issue. And it's like, everything you've ever done accesses your home Wi-Fi network, Mr. 90-year-old. I laughed so hard when I saw that. Like, and he's dead faced having to answer in front of a legal court of elderly people. No one breaks a laugh. I'm not kidding. There's like hundreds of witnesses. Nobody laughs at that. I was like,
we'd have cried. We loved it.
Yeah, these are the people in charge of like organizing the future of all of this, and they don't. Honestly, any 22-year-old right now would be far more, you know, that's been keeping up with it, like responsible for making these decisions. I would say it's scary. It really is. I don't want to underestimate how scary it is. Actually. Huh?
I'd actually go as far as saying my 11-year-old son's probably got a better understanding than most of them.
That's the thing, is these kids are going to be born into this Gen AI thing. They're going to take it to a new level. Like, they're already on Discord and all the platforms that you access this. Even like I talk to baby boomers sometimes, and I say, do you know what Discord is? And they go, what? I'm like, you know, MSN or AOL that you maybe used like 10 years ago. It's kind of the new version of that. Have you not ever even heard of it? And I'm like, all of your kids are on it, and they're constantly playing and following their favorite YouTubers. And then they occasionally will try AI products that you've got no idea exist. They're going to quite literally change the world underneath your feet. And then they're like, oh, maybe I should try it someday.
And the scary bit is, well, the scary bit is, though, Chris and Jem, it's moving fast.
It's so fast.
It's
scary.
Faster than anyone can keep up with.
And it's going to be even faster in the future because we're on an exponential curve, which us humans, we're terrible at thinking about exponentials, because this is doubling in increase every single year until it's like, I can't keep up with it now, and it's my full-time job to blog about it. So it's very difficult for the average public to have any idea of what's true, because everything that's spread in journalism is fear-mongering. It's not at all true to what's going on in the industry. It's sensationalism, you know, look what AI did in 10 seconds, or how many jobs AI is going to take in this year. And it doesn't ever say, how many jobs will AI invent? Just like the internet, right? Everybody goes, oh, the internet was a really bad thing for jobs and like local high streets and stuff. But the internet's has invented every career that I've ever been involved in, loads of which are job titles that no one would have thought about before the internet, like social media director, online marketing director, PPC manager, website content creator. All of these were roles that didn't exist before the internet, right? And the same is going to be true with AI.
But AI is giving you your job now, Chris. So
exactly. And like, but many people are going, oh, it's just, they're thinking about the jobs that AI will circumnavigate. And I'm not denying it will get rid of a large majority of jobs, but it will also invent as many, if not more jobs, is my argument.
Absolutely.
It's usually the case, isn't it? It's like when we actually talk about, say, the introduction of social media and things like that. Yeah, we might have shops and things through as social media platforms like TikTok, like Instagram, where we actually buying things is a lot easier now than it was before. So we will see a decline in the high street, but we're also seeing an increase in small independent business owners actually making a living for themselves and going it alone, because now
100%.
that's something they can actually do because of social media. Whereas it had never even been thought of 10, 15 years ago. To them, that are just thought, well, do you know what? I've just got to do this because I have to do my job. I can't go off and do my own thing. Now, people who would have never thought it was possible for them are like, let's do it. And I love that about it. I'll tell
you why that's such a good example is because think how much it would have cost to own a high street shop in anywhere in England, you know, let alone the rent and the electricity costs and everything like that. You're talking in the thousands of pounds every month, potentially, depending where you are, right? Now, to open a Shopify shop is $49.99.
Yeah.
It's literally everybody can afford to open a Shopify shop, and there's no commitment, there's no rent, there's no overheads, there's no licensing, there's no nothing. You literally can build your own shop in an hour for $49.99. Now that's what AI is allowing you to do as well. For $20 a month, you can create 10,000 pieces of artwork, and it's decentralized art and creativity and copywriting and marketing, to be honest. You know, anyone as a freelancer with the right AI tools can act as a full agency right now and charge upwards of $250,000 a year for their services.
Wow.
And the number one thing I've seen as being like working with agency owners is them hiring the CV with prompt engineering in their bio somewhere, because that's the number one thing that they know that person can have 4 to 5 times more value than a standard employee, because they can use AI tools to have that much output more than a standard employee can. So it really is beneficial to everyone, you know, the freelancer, the owner, everyone in the pipeline is going to get more output and more money, hopefully.
So that's what we want. And I think that's what we want people to actually be focusing on, rather than actually, oh, it's going to take your job. No, it's not.
And the downside,
cases, it's going to enhance a lot of what you're actually doing. And for want of a better term, get rid of that grunt work that none of us like doing anyway.
You're going to be way more efficient. And yes, it's scary. And I don't want it to access all of my documents. You know, I'm going to create a desktop where I have AI, have all of the things I want it to access, essentially, you know, where I know that any of the companies behind these tools could use that information against me to market to me in the future, etc. So I'm just being somewhat careful around the documents I want it to have access to, so it can't, you know, give me really dodgy stuff. Like,
I think that's actually a good point as well that we need to mention, that if you're actually working on anything that you've signed an NDA on, or there's any confidentiality clauses, then maybe don't use AI, because then it becomes public property.
No, exactly. Do you know that is a good point. But the biggest thing that, you know, listening to you, Chris, is absolutely fascinating. I could listen to you for hours and days and weeks, because there's just so much I need to know. But
I'm barely scratching the surface as well on the AI stuff, really.
Oh, absolutely. But the big thing is, I suppose, I get it. I get it. Evolution happens. We're in a revolution, and the fact is that, you know, what would your top 3 tips be to our audience listen now around AI?
I would definitely find some unbiased sources of information to learning it. So I would say the best bet for that is to go to YouTube and individual YouTubers that don't have an agenda or any money as to why they're telling you, this platform or that platform. Because if you go to blogs and other places like this to do the research, often you'll just find that it was a promoted post. I find this with lots of marketplaces, to be truthful with you. They're not actually the cheapest, best price. They're the ones that give the most margin and have the best deals with the marketplace. So just be very careful about, where you're finding sources of training information for the tools that you want. And the second thing I would do is really research what's out there in terms of like helping your workflow. You don't want it to be inefficient. You want it to really help your job and make it so that you enjoy it more or have some positive outcome. Lots of them are like mentally draining and actually not as useful as just doing it by hand right now. So there's lots of like, nonsense being spouted about capabilities of certain tools that you need to do your own research into, definitely.
So is there, out of any, so you mentioned going onto YouTube and find people that are independent. Yeah. Is there anyone that you'd recommend checking out?
Yeah, there's a few different like YouTubers that do like weekly summaries of technology that's being launched. One of them's called Matt Wolfe, and it's spelled WOLFE, an E at the end. He's like an American YouTuber that seems to do pretty impartial summaries of like, here's the latest tech, what it's capable of, and why I would use it in my workflow, etc. But if you go onto him, you'll find a lot of the recommended videos are from other people like him.
No, brilliant.
So, Chris, I've got a quick question for you. So, considering the things that we've been talking about and the fact that both me and you work in roles and have job titles that wouldn't have existed 20 years ago, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self and why?
Yeah, that's the real advice, is not be so hell-bent on your trajectory. Be very pliable to change. And, I'd say I've pivoted more than most people. That like Friends episode where Ross has taken a couch around the corner. That's basically my business history, in terms of how many different ways I've offered services and stuff. So just be allowing and comfortable with that, rather than being, I'm going to do this for this person at this date and having that as your ultimate goal. Set mini goals, and then, as the industry changes, change with it.
Great.
Especially with like as younger generations, when they're at school and when they're at high school, a lot of people are like, you need to decide what you want to do.
Because there's all that pressure from your parents and university and all that other nonsense. So you've just got to block out the noise.
See, Charlie don't get it from me. My response is, do what makes you happy. If you're happier in a job that earns you £10 an hour, do that. I know that's against minimum wage now, but
well, I've always said that before in AI with social media. I'm like, can you do this medium to long term? If not, this is not the thing for you. If you're chasing like viral every day, and you get let down and your life is like a roller coaster, this ain't for you. This is going to be a terrible industry, and you're going to age 30 years in 5 years if you try it. So like, I'm brutal with that, honestly, with people. I'm like, this is either for you or it's not.
Absolutely.
I'm already at the stage where I'm contemplating Botox at 35.
You won't need
you hide
to.
It well. You hide it well.
You won't need to, Jem. Use some of these apps that Chris is suggesting. You're gonna look 30 years younger. It's amazing.
Oh, we could get into all of that. I don't want to, though. The standards of beauty with AI and Instagram, that's going to go. I mean, the filters were bad enough, but the fact that you're going to be able to literally get AI to remove anything, like, that's concerning. But
well, Chris,
it's a deep one. It's going to be an whole episode of its own, to be honest with you.
It is a deep one, but we all know it's going to be very popular, unfortunately. But I have to say that, Chris, it's been such a pleasure, meeting you, and I could talk to you for weeks. But please, audience, if you absolutely have loved what you've heard, we're going to get Chris. Chris, you'll come back on, won't you, for us?
Of course I will, yeah. I'll be a guest, regular.
But before we leave, there's one thing that I want from you. So I want a question for our next month's guest. So
you're not going to know who they are or anything. We're not giving you any information. We just want a random question, and it can be as random as you want it to be.
So go wild.
I got my Mr. Burns. Like, how cruel should I be? You know, should I ask for embarrassing stories? Should I, I think like it's really hard because I don't honestly know who you're going to have and therefore what industry or background or any sort of like, steering of the question. So I'm just going to ask a very big topic, which is, should you have not done what you've done? What else could you have done, industry wise? Like I saw this asked to one of my favorite rappers recently. And it was like, if you weren't a rapper, what would you have been? And he said a firefighter. And I was like, what on earth? Like I never would have picked that for him. Like I would have thought a poet or an artist or something else close, like a jazz musician or something. Instead of firefighter. So I was like, that was one of the most interesting responses to a random question I'd ever seen. So maybe that's a good one.
No,
I really want to know who that was now.
Yeah, well, I'll dig up the YouTube video and send it to you on LinkedIn.
No.
Do it, because
I've seen someone else say he wanted to be a cage fighter and he was a teacher at school. And I was like, what? That's a really different type of career.
So we know why the kids in his class behave then.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing I can draw is like, oh, you like to be in control of a room then or something, like what?
I had images of just power slamming kids through desk.
Oh, well, hey, absolutely a fantastic show. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it, Jem?
Honestly, I've really, really enjoyed it. As we mentioned just before we actually went live, we've known each other for quite a while, but we've not actually ever had a chat like this. We definitely need to put one in again.
I'm keen. And let me know what your next guest thinks of my question. I'm hoping that it gets a funny response.
You're getting a voice note while we're online.
No. Well, hey, bye everybody.